Hey guys, welcome to Mark My Words. Today we're going to talk about the programming the Bafang Ultra. But this same thing applies to any of the Bafang series motors, including the BBS 01, 02 and BBS HD. We'll touch briefly on the software, the location of where you can acquire software, a little bit about the editing and what you require. Now, for the BBS series, there is a similar guide to what I'll show you later in this video on Google from electricbikeblog.com by a chap called Karl. So all credit goes to him for the files provided and the information and guide that's written there. But this video is just an overview of like what I've experienced in my time programming. So one of the things you will require before you can program your bike is one of these here programming cables, okay? Now you're looking at a price of around £30 if you're in the UK, maybe $20–30 if you're in the US for a good quality cable, okay? You don't want to be buying no $10 or £10 rubbish, because it's going to make all the difference with the communication between your computer and between the motor. So what you'll do with that there cable is you will disconnect the display on the harness at your handlebar end of your bike. Sorry, I've not got my bike set up to show you this step, but it's pretty straightforward. You're looking to disconnect the display one. It'll be a green plug, so you know you've got the right actual plug disconnected, and that there programming cable plugs in. You want to make sure your battery is switched on at this point once you've connected up, and then plug the cable into your computer. Now, I'll not talk too much about the operating system for the computer because it will vary from the computer you're using, what version of Windows and things, how old the computer is that you have. But in my experience, I spent 6 hours or more trying to get this here laptop I'm showing you today to recognise that their programming cable. And in the end up, it was part of a driver issue that Windows 10, which is what I'm running, wouldn't detect, and then eventually it did, and it also came down to the USB port used on the laptop. So the laptop I've got here has 3 or 4 USB ports available, and it was on the 3rd attempt with one of the other USB ports at the other side of the laptop. Bingo, hey presto, it downloaded the correct drivers and then it just worked. So you will go through a stressful process of trying to get the software to really be recognising the cable that you're using, and that's why I say it's important to purchase a good quality cable also, because it'll make the world of a difference, and that is a good quality cable that I do have, and even as I say, I experienced a bit of time lag with that. So I know I appreciate that I've rattled on quite a bit here, but I just wanted to cover that you really need to make sure that you've got a decent cable. Now, if you're using the BBS HD, touching briefly on that, Penoff, P-E-N-O-F-F, has rewritten the program, which you can find by googling his name, and he's made some adaptations to that to allow you to be able to program the BBS series motors a lot more efficiently, because the program that's floating around from Bafang's years old and he tweaked it some. So yeah, credit to him for rewriting the program to make it usable. This program here is specifically one provided via a link on Karl's website, which I'll just show you just now. Okay, so electricbikeblog.com. Karl provides all the files you really need here, so you download for the software. And the main difference between the Bafang Ultra software and the BBS is that you have the torque settings page available to you within the software. Now, we're not going to go in depth to altering and changing programming things we don't understand. Karl does list as much as possible information regarding the programming on this page, so you can read this at your leisure. Very, very useful page. If you take your time, take note of what he mentions regarding the programming, and then you're all good. Now, I appreciate it says Bafang Ultra Max but it does apply to the current Bafang Ultra that's available to us all, okay? So you can ignore the fact that it says Ultra Max. So the blue links there are basically the ones you know, he's highlighting the different files and things that you'll need and the prerequisites that you'll need to do. So grab those, then he'll talk about, as I say, the programming cable as well. And then he gives you a demonstration of the programming here, okay? Some screenshots. Now, what I'll say is you'll probably struggle to get your cable to be read by your computer. You'll need to figure out what COM port you're using to input into the software for it to detect your cable. Sometimes it detects automatically, sometimes it doesn't. So to figure that out, what you will do, you'll come over here, you'll click in this box, and then it doesn't need to be capital letters, you'll just type COM, and we start at probably number 4, and then hit enter, and it will come up an error of some fashion, okay? You'll go all the way up to maybe COM 9, and then at some point, hey bingo, hey presto, you'll hit the money and it'll detect the cable. If it's not detecting the cable with the COM ports that you're going through, there is a way of finding out what COM port the cable where you've plugged it into your laptop is using, and you go to your device manager on your operating system and you'll be able to figure it out from there. And there's various guides on Google again that cover that portion of how to find out what COM port you're using, okay? Because it's too much to go through for each operating system. But anyways, once you've got that, over in this part here, you will actually find that it'll read the information, and these buttons down here will become available to you, okay, as with the buttons over here. It will show you the version, the firmware, and information from the controller that you've got within your motor. And then you'll have something like what Karl's shown here with the it'll show you the stock settings on your motor for each tab. Now what I did to simplify things is, and as we're showing here, there is nothing shown within my software because I'm not connected up to the bike and I haven't loaded any files in. I just went for the easy route and I've used Karl's file he's provided himself, his tried and tested file, which again of course you use at your own risk, but credit to the man for actually supplying a copy of that for us. I used his file for the BBS HD and I never ever had any issues. It was like a whole new drive once I had programmed that in there. And on the BBS HD I had the Egg Rider display, which allowed me to have the stock settings on one mode, and on the other mode I had Karl's special sauce, as he refers to it. And with the Bafang Ultra he's done exactly that. He's made a special sauce file that's available on that website. You download it and then you'll just go heading over and you'll go to your file, and then you'll go in and you'll load the file. And then once you load the file, it'll load all the parameters and stuff and such, okay? But before you load that, you'll click on the read flash button, so it reads all your controllers information. You load Karl's file, or anybody else's file if you acquire a file from somewhere else. And then you want to hit just flash all over in the far tab, okay? So over on this side, when you hit read flash or write flash, it applies to every single tab you have up the top. If you're only hitting write or read on this side, what you'll find is that it only applies to the page that you're on, okay? A couple of things worthwhile mentioning are that are worthwhile changing are your low voltage cutoff for your battery, because that will vary probably. If you're loading Karl's special sauce, it will likely vary so what your low voltage cutoff is. So for me, with a 58.8 volt battery, otherwise referred to as 52 volts, I've set that to 42 on that there. The other thing you can mess around with is your throttle handle. Good variables to use is between 11 and 45. and then you can change those to 1235 is what Karl's using, and I actually find that that performs pretty well. But I'm using the stock bafang throttle. If I change that to an aftermarket throttle, those settings may need to be changed again. Pretty much everything else, there's not really anything else you're going to want to change. You'll probably want to change the wheel size that you're given and assigned, your pedal assist numbers as well, whether you have 5 or 3 steps or 9 steps. And yeah, those are the main things. I wouldn't go tinkering with anything else. I haven't personally changed anything else. What I will show is on this screen an assist 0, and it shows 0 0 obviously because we haven't loaded anything. On Karl's file, it changes that to 1 and 1, and that allows you to use throttle and pedal on power assist 0. So if you're using a DPC 18 display, as with most kits, that's what comes as standard, and you've got this, what I'll say, god-awful sport and eco mode, which me personally, and from my experience and research, doesn't really do anything other than change the display and give a sort of placebo effect that you're actually changing the programming in the controller. Because as I found when I programmed the controller and kept this display affixed to the bike, whether I was going between eco mode or sport mode, there was no differences, both were identical. So the settings you're applying in the programming are applying globally to that there controller, and it doesn't matter about the sport or eco. So for that reason, I ditched the DPC 18, as well as the fact that it has only 5 pedal assist levels. Technically you can get away with 6 pedal assist levels, as I say, if you use Karl's designated 1 and 1 on assist 0, and that'll give you the 6 levels. But I wanted 9 steps of pedal assist, so I ditched that display and I got myself the 500C display. It's got its quirks as well, but the biggest thing for me is it enables you to select what pedal assist levels you want, whether you want to have 3 steps, 5 steps or 9 steps. I set the 9 steps up, and that works wonderfully with Karl's file and the designated power that's on each step. What I did do is, though, as for assist 0, is I set that back to 0 and 0, because in busy areas and when you're having to navigate certain parts of traffic and whatnot, you want to set that to 0 really, because it means you don't have to turn the display off and you're not worried about the bike flying away from you or anything as well. It just essentially turns it into a regular bike again, but without having the power down completely. So yeah, so those are the main things. You have also got the option of loading this here program, reading the controller. What I will say is save the stock settings. That is crucial. If you're not going to load another file, or even if you are, the first thing you want to do is save a file for the stock settings, okay? Because there's no way to get them back once you mess anything up. Save that. And what you can do is, even at this point, is you've just used the software save, you've used the cable save, but you go a fancy an egg rider display, one of the ones that gives you the option of having 2 different profiles, or 2 different modes, whether it be eco, sport, off-road, road. And you can connect that up, and it'll just, on the eco or road mode, it'll default with all your stock settings on the controller. Flip that into off-road or sport mode, and do the programming via your phone using Karl's file. Just open his file up on your computer and copy each of the different sections over and save it that way, and essentially you've got Karl's special sauce on your egg rider then. That's another way to do things. In my experience though, if you don't mess with something you don't understand, you won't break it, okay? So there's no harm in programming your motor. Just follow my caution of backing up that stock file, taking your time to read everything, taking your time to do everything properly. If you're unsure about it, don't hit write, don't hit read, don't touch it at all. And if it's a setting you're not sure of, don't change it. But as I say, I went for the easy option, twice through, BBS HD, Karl Special Sauce, not an issue, and the Bafang Ultra, Karl Special Sauce version for that, not an issue. And last but not least, as I say, everything you need to know is listed on his guide within this web page, okay? So if you jump over here and have a read, and even like with his screenshots here, if you get the egg rider, you could jump on here and just, you know, manually copy in his screenshots here as well. But as I say, take your time and read this. I obviously have some experience from programming the BBS HD the first time round, following Karl's guide on electricbikeblog.com, but it's on a different page for programming and hacking the BBS 01, 02 and BBS HD. And you're talking 20 minutes tops. If you take your time and read this, follow every step to the letter, good quality cable, laptop, and all that what you need, peace and quiet to concentrate, yeah, you're doing this in 10 to 20 minutes tops. And I thought I'd just throw this video together because often there are questions about the programming, and Karl does go into in depth on the page here, showing you what start kg, end kg, full kg, return kg, and a lot of description from each, roughly what he's figured out what they mean, or he'll tell you straight, look, I don't know what it does, I don't know what it means, so don't mess with it. For example, over here, he's saying, I didn't mess with this setting, but it probably, you know, so common sense prevails. You don't know what it is, don't mess with it. And then, as we show here, this is all corresponding to the pressure placed on the pedals, so the torque sensor. So how quickly you can bring the power in, just feathering the pedals, or actually if you want a bit more of a workout, really pressing hard and cranking down on those pedals. But that's the end of the video, guys. I know I've went on quite a bit and I haven't really shown you it connected up to the bike, but I just wanted to show you that it really is a straightforward process and show you the source of where I got the information from and how to do it. So please like and subscribe to the video, and hopefully there'll be more future videos. Check out my previous one of my snow day up in the old Kilpatrick Hills.